Good morning, folks. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for being here, whether here is in your office or here in Byron Share Auditorium. Thanks for your attendance for what's shaping up to be an extremely fun and exciting morning. Let me start off by introducing myself. I'm Steven Sander. You can call me Steve. I'm currently the environmental scientist in the Knowledge Integration Section Policy Development Analysis Office here at CalRecycle. I would serve as project lead for the AB 901 implementation effort, and I'm on the RDRS, or Recycling and Disposal Reporting System core implementation team. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge the other CalRecycle staffers in the room. Assisting me today will be my intrepid colleague, Dan Brown. He's a supervisor in our unit, and he'll be taking your online questions and reading them to me. And Kate Wilkins, environmental scientist, is also here. She'll be helping out with some of the microphones and whatnot. So thank you to you both. Pete Stackless is also going to be joining a bit later. Peter Stackless is a technical senior in our unit, and he'll be talking about security, access, credentialing, that sort of thing, assigning security rights a little bit later in this presentation, about 11 to 11:15. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to want to sort of take care of a couple of housekeeping items. So in the event of a fire or other emergency, our relocation area will be Chavez Park, which is catty corner to this building. You can follow me or the other two staffers out of the building, down the stairs, and through the doors on the first floor, through the plaza and across the street. This meeting will also be recorded and posted online as training material, so please do keep that in mind this morning. Restrooms out the doors in the back, continue walking east and just around the corner. So now, just to go over some workshop guidelines and best practices for connecting with us remotely. Please use the GoToWebinar chat function, meaning type your questions into the chat box. Use the microphones if you're in the room so that folks can hear you online. Remember that the conversation is being recorded, so please be on your best behavior. Please remember to listen actively and understand where folks are coming from with their questions. And since we're all here to learn, at least for the duration of these proceedings, please be decent to one another. So for my remote participants, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to join us. Like I said, please, throughout the workshop, send your succinct, straight-to-the-point questions and comments directly related to the material being discussed to the GoToMeeting chat window. We'll have a couple moments at the end of each module to take some questions. And you can also email the RDRS inbox, rdrs@calrecycle.ca.gov, if you have any questions related to the presentation content. So in a perfect world, I wouldn't feel obligated to do this, but out of an abundance of caution, I just want to make things clear here in relation to the contents of the workshop. I'm not an attorney, and this is not legal advice. Even though we develop the regulations, they are very complex and multifaceted. The examples I give may not necessarily apply to your specific facility or organization. This workshop should not be or should not supplant your own read-through of the regulations. As a business, it behooves you to follow all applicable regulatory requirements that pertain to you. So all I'm asking is for you all to please remain diligent in that regard. So if you're the person who inputs data or oversees the reporting for your company, you'll want to take some time to read this through and really understand it, especially if you're going to be submitting quarterly reports under RDRS. So we're here mostly to focus on the bullet point number 3 here of the learning objectives. I know the basic procedure for how to enter CalRecycle's data system and input required information. And by input required information, we're specifically talking about the registration module of the data system for these proceedings. There's also, more importantly, and the actual putting in your numbers and reporting, the training for that is actually going to come a bit later. We're thinking May, June timeframe is when we're going to set up another training regarding the actual requirements, or what data would you be required to record and subsequently submit in the RDRS system. This training is focused on simply how to register your facility, business, or operation. So basically that's part 1. Part 2 is the actual inputting of your tonnage information into the system. That will come a bit later, so I just want to be clear about that. We've held a couple of workshops more so focused on the number 1 and 2. So on March 20th and 21st, 2 workshops were conducted that really speak more so to the bullet points 1 and 2. So if you want more information about that, you can go to our CalRecycle RDRS webpage. If you're not familiar with CalRecycle's internet systems, you can simply go to our homepage at calrecycle.ca.gov. On the In Focus tab, there should be a link to the RDRS basically main page, and from that point you can access the training material I just mentioned, slides and video and audio recordings of those trainings that will help speak to more so the bullet points 1 and 2 in terms of the learning objectives. So, this again focused on more so on number 3 here. Here's a copy of the agenda. So we're doing pretty well on the schedule. So we'll cover some important background material a little bit, and then discuss some of the requirements to get into the system to report in RDRS. Then we'll take a look through some of the example scenarios, take a little 10-minute break, and then come back and continue being hands-on with the data system and interactive. We'll look through three more scenarios, hear about security, access rights, take a few questions, and then conclude for the day. Real quick, So I've been just informed that the sound may not be working for folks. So we're just working to get that up, but please let us know if that improves. And, thanks for making us aware of that. We'll get the IT to take a look at and diagnose the situation for the webinar participants. So I do apologize for that. I think I'm just going to continue along. This is some background material that has also been presented in different forms and fashions throughout the training and outreach component of the regulations development process. So folks can also see this information after, same information conveyed on the website as well. So I think I'm just going to press forth and continue along here. So in terms of background, we'll talk about sort of, we'll take a little bit of a dive into the impetus for why we're here today. And we'll talk about how we're transitioning away from the disposal reporting system, also known as DRS or EDRS, and moving ahead with full implementation of the new RDRS system. So here's a status quo disposal reporting system, and as you can see, it's quite complicated. Information changes hands several times before being passed along to CalRecycle. So this will be phased out and replaced with RDRS. On October 15th, DRS reports are due from counties and regional agencies to CalRecycle for the second quarter of 2019. However, RDRS will have already kicked in at that point, and direct reporting due dates for the third quarter 2019 under RDRS will be due from facilities October 31st, November 30th, or December 31st, depending on reporting entity type. How we doing with the volume, by the way? So it looks so folks on the webinar, you're going to have to call in to hear. Well, I don't know how they would hear me. So maybe I'll just try. If you bear with me, I'll type that into the chat, and so I can. Oh, okay, Dan's already on top of it. Dan's great. So thank you, folks, and welcome, I guess, to our phone participants as well. Our new system facilitates direct reporting, as I alluded to. We'll be receiving reports directly from these reporting entities under the proposed regulations. And, AB 901 expands the scope clearly from the EDRS system to the RDRS system, expands the scope to include recycling and composting facilities, in-vessel digestion facilities and operations, wastewater treatment plants, and brokers and transporters. So all of these entities here are going to directly report to the department. In terms of the reporting hierarchy, I'm just going to sort of preview this for now, but for RDRS registration purposes, here's sort of our architecture. At the top, we have the organization/site, which is the place where your business is located. And reporting entities occupy space within sites. So a reporting entity would be like your landfill or your transfer station. There can be more than one reporting entity on a site. Lastly, we have reporting entity sub-activity or dependent activity, and this is always a recycling or composting facility. It can't be any other reporting entity type. It can report as a dependent of a reporting entity on a site. So this will, the regulations were amended to ease the reporting burden while still allowing the department to collect required information. So just as an example, we have John's Resource Recovery Complex. It's a complex site with two reporting entities, a landfill and a transfer processing facility, John's MRF Transfer Station. And as you can see, John's MRF Transfer Station is a lead reporting entity for a dependent sub-activity called John's Recycling, which is a clean line, has to register, but has chosen to report as a sub of the transfer processor. It could report as a dependent of the landfill as well if management so desired, in which case that box could be on the left side of the screen. I've alluded to this several times now, but one of the most important dates is coming right up, which is the registration period, April 1st to 30th, 2019. And July 1 is when entities with reporting obligations need to start recording required information to be submitted to CalRecycle as part of their quarterly reporting. RDRS opens for haulers on October 1st, 2019, and is due for haulers October 31st, 2019. All of these dates will be for quarter 3, 2019, disposal and recycling data. So November 1st, it goes live for transfer processors, recycler, composters, and broker transporters, and is due November 30th. And for disposal facilities, as you might guess, it opens December 1st and is due December 30th. So those are some dates to keep in mind when the system will actually go live for reporting. So just as far as some takeaways from the presentation, registration is due April 30th, and that's what we're here to talk about. So coming right up, we'll hopefully provide an exhaustive demonstration here that is more than sufficient to help you understand your obligations and get into the system to maintain compliance with the regulations. You'll want to begin recording data pursuant to RDRS as of July 1, and the last DRS reports are due from counties and regional agencies to CalRecycle for the second quarter 2019 disposal reporting system. That's due October 15. So a lot of different dates coming right up. Here's a copy of the agenda again. So we're right on a schedule. We'll cover some important background material as far as creating a web pass and logging in. Then we'll go through the scenario. So I'm just going to